This is my heater. I dare you to hit it.
He'll be sorry.
You want the heater? I'll give it to you.
Basketball, maybe they don't hit it.
A swing and a drive to deep right.
Clear the deck. Cannonball coming.
Left field. It is out of here.
What up? What's good? We nailed it.
He nailed it.
again.
He nailed
Let's
it this
go.
time, baby.
Wow, that doesn't always happen. How's everybody doing today? Happy Tuesday morning or whenever you are listening. Baseball Unstitched, back at it again. Flax, as always, the first question of the day. How's the weekend?
Weekend's good, man. It was Easter. Happy Easter to everybody out there. Apologize we did not say Happy Passover when that occurred, but
for Jewish guys, we should've done
retroactively,
it.
yeah, we should have. Should have thought about it. It's not as mainstream. Easter's a mainstream gig, but overall, weekend was good. We got to go out to see the Nats play in Colorado. It was a lot of fun. Dylan Cruz started to figure it out. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But overall, man, nothing to complain about. It's my grandmother used to say, "No use complaining." So that's I might just start using that. No use complaining.
I love that. No, it was a great weekend. Getting to see my team out here in Denver for 3 straight games was great. Had an opportunity to watch a lot of Nationals baseball, and let me tell you, I think we're going to be coming around here real quick, and we're going to be a thorn in people's sides in DC for a long time to come. But we're not there just yet.
They're in that same classification for me right now as the A's and the Marlins, which most people would be like, don't put us. They are young, they are exciting, and they will win more baseball games than you think they will just because they're young enough and dumb enough to just go do the thing.
Yeah. Shout out to Dan Kolko and Jacob Young. Had some nice conversations with both of those guys.
Man.
And if we're going to talk about Jacob Young, shout out to Kevin Young, who Jacob Young's older brother. We got to play ball with him for one summer season.
Former
Flax and
teammate.
I. Yeah, just had his first kid. Congrats again, Kevin. So listen, guys, a lot of fun stuff this weekend. We've got a chock full slate for you guys today, and really everything comes down to this. We're talking about the fast starters and the slow starters today. We're going to run through some arms. We're going to run through some younger players. We're going to talk a little bit about how Drake Baldwin might be on the same trajectory or path right now as Ben Rice. And really from an overall perspective, hoping you guys enjoy what we're bringing to the table today. Flax, any opening thoughts, anything that happened this week that you wanted to run over?
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to talk about was actually the play that happened in the Max Fried game with Chandler Simpson, because I saw Tim and Jeff Kirkshin talked about this on their podcast, and Tim unequivocally said, I give that a hit every single time. And the one piece for me that I just find interesting, because everybody's whole thing was, if you look at the play and you look at the play that Goldschmidt would have had to make, I think it was Goldschmidt,
Yes.
Max Fried would have had to beat him to the bag, and at the moment it didn't look like it. I want to remind everybody that in the third inning, Chandler Simpson hit a ground ball to first base. Granted, it was a flip, not a throw. The ball moves faster than feet. Max Fried beat Chandler Simpson to the base, and they got him out on a PFP. There is a little part of me that wants to give Paul Goldschmidt the error there, just because he's such a good defender.
Sure.
There's a part of me that looks, as much as I want to look at Chandler Simpson's speed and say, oh, he broke that play down, I want to look at Paul Goldschmidt and say, yeah, kind of got a tricky hop, but it's Paul Goldschmidt. Like, how many tricky hops has he got in his career? He doesn't miss plays like that. So that was my opening thought. I was curious what you would have given it. I still think I would have given it an error when it was all said and done.
I like when pitchers have shots and no hitters, so honestly, I'm giving Goldie. I'm giving you the error, not because of anything other than the fact that I would have liked to see if Fried could. I
think Goldie would have thrown his hand in the air and taken the
I think he
error.
would have too. I think Goldschmidt would have said I should have made that play. To be fair, and if Paul Goldschmidt says he should have made that play, it's not going to hurt my feelings. At the end of the day, Chandler Simpson is all world when it comes to the speed tools. So I also don't blame anybody for giving him a hit there, because if we're being completely honest, you never know. He might have beat it out. I've seen him beat out a ground ball to first base. So, it's just what it is. Mine this week is a little bit different than yours. I was not shocked, but surprised when everybody on social media started freaking out saying, oh my God, where's all this energy been from Mike Trout when good things happen in Anaheim? Do you guys think that Mike Trout doesn't care about baseball or has never been excited before?
Yeah. It's
crazy. Can we remember who this guy is? The reason why you think it's weird that he was excited is actually because you haven't seen him on the field for 4.5 years.
So I was going to say, because he was there.
Right. He was hurt. Probably would have had to limp out of the dugout. So I just want to remind everybody that like Mike Trout loves baseball. There is no question about it. And yes, a Joe Adell bases clearing walk-off double is gonna get him going. So I don't know. That's just a little fun one, I guess. I was giggling on socials when I saw people that were like surprised Mike Trout was happy for his team. It was
I couldn't understand how that was a conversation. How people were like, "Oh, I love this Mike Trout." I don't know what other Mike Trout you're talking about. Like, that's Mike Trout. That's who he is.
It's not new, to be honest with you. Like, he gets excited in big situations. Yeah. He just doesn't get excited every time somebody goes yabo.
Right. Home runs are home runs. He's been there, done that.
I was about to say, if he hits how many a year? Of course he's
Right.
not going to get excited every time he hits one. He doesn't get excited when he hits one.
Right.
I digress. Let's keep on moving along here, and we're going to start with two arms that are in two completely different situations right now. We're going to always, decide to start with the good here. And who's on a fast start right now, and we're really loving what he is bringing to the table right now, and that's Chris Bassitt of the Toronto Blue Jays, 36 years old. Nothing is stopping this guy so far this year from being an absolute dog on the hill. And what's he doing better than most people in baseball? He's pitching. And when I say he's pitching, I'm talking about with seven different pitches, great mix. Flax, I love what Chris Bassitt is doing this year.
Yeah, we watched a little bit of video of him, and I said it last night on our live show. Like, he is the 2025 Seth Lugo, where he has such a comfort. And Jackson said this too. Like, he has such a comfort with the baseball in his hand. Getting a guy like that who already spins it well to be able to do different things, to hold it different ways, make the ball move different ways, that allows him to open up his arsenal in the way he uses it against righties, against lefties, so differently. It keeps really good hitters on their toes because there's only so much they can actually do in the box when they don't know what's coming. It's why Seth Lugo has been so successful. But when you really look at what he's doing well, he's getting more swings, but he's getting more swings on pitches that aren't great pitches to hit. Whether they're in the zone, out of the zone, early in the count, late in the count, he's getting a lot of swings. His first pitch swing percentage is up over 5%. His whiff percentage is up over 7%. The fact that those two things coinciding tells me that guys are swinging early and often because they don't want to get deep in counts against a guy who has a lot of pitches. They know he has an arsenal that can beat them, and they're trying to, as I always like to say, the best two-strike approach, don't get to two strikes. Against a guy like Chris Bassitt, whose K percentage is up over 11% from last year, don't get to two strikes because he's going to K you up 7 different ways. So I think that's what he's doing really well right now is he's inducing swings and he's inducing them the right way and in the right spots. That allows him to build the arsenal even further as the game goes on because pitches get established and then he gets to try different things and he gets to waste pitches. And sometimes when he wastes those pitches, he even gets swings on those. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to see. Like I said, if you didn't know who Chris Bassitt was before these 4 starts, welcome to baseball. He's been around for a bit. He has been very, very good. But the other thing, and I know that you have some thoughts on him, but my biggest thing when it's all said and done is he's an absolute competitor. He's always been this way. You take a guy who took a rocket off the face in a big league game, and not only did he come back from it, he's come back from it and become an even better pitcher since then. He learned how to be a better pitcher over thrower since that happened. To not only have the confidence to get back up there, but really to shut all that out and be able to get up there and continuously do the thing is so understated in this game, especially the game of baseball. I've never not seen him take the ball, be able to shut everything out and execute on most every pitch. He's so good at locking in, and you can see it in his face. You can see it in his eyes. And there's really only a few guys that have been able to do it, and they pitch till they're 42 to 45.
Yeah, and I want to really get into this pitch mix in his arsenal because I absolutely love what he does. For a lot of our listeners out there, most of you are familiar with really what has occurred in baseball, which is you're seeing more pitchers throw less four-seam fastballs and going sinker cutter as much as possible, having two hard pitches that break late in the opposite direction. Chris Bassitt right now is doing it better than anybody in baseball. First off, he's a guy whose extension is consistently between 6.3 and 6.4 on all of his pitches, which tells us he's releasing the ball from the same distance away from the plate, and he's very consistent with his arm slot across the board on all of his pitches. So essentially what I just told you is not only is he quote-unquote tunneling, depending on where he's putting the ball, but everything that comes out of his hand looks like the exact same pitch. Now, what did he do this year differently than last year to have this type of start? And for me, that was the additional usage of his splitter. His splitter by no means this year has been this elite pitch. However, it's done something important for him. One, it was used only 4% of the time all of last year. He's already using it 10% of the time in 2025. Right now, his two highest used pitches are going to be his sinker and his curveball. However, he's a sinker cutter guy. What does this do? He throws you a fastball right down the middle, and about 6 feet away from the plate, 7 feet away from the plate, you have to decide if it's going to break in on your hands as a righty or break away from you as a righty. Again, same slot, same distance release from the plate. It's going to be really hard to make that decision, especially if you're not seeing the spin well. His splitter has done something miraculous for him. His splitter comes out in a very similar way to his curveball, but now is breaking towards right-handed hitters and away from lefties. What has this done? Now when he throws either of his breaking pitches, off speed in the splitter, you have to now decide which way the soft stuff's going to go. So he's creating the exact same effect he does with his sinker and his cutter, with his curveball and his splitter. Guys, this is elite level pitching. That is what Chris Bassitt is doing, and it is on full display. I love watching it. Another portion of his arsenal that is just excellent is his sweeper. Yeah, because he's got one of those too. Has more horizontal run than his curveball, which allows Bassitt to do something against lefties that most right-handed pitchers couldn't do if they wished it, which is he now can throw his sweeper as a backdoor pitch to lefties, and then he can throw the curveball off of it, and it never gets back to the plate. If it was a sweeper, it'd be on the outside corner. The curveball never makes it back, but looks just like the sweeper. This is elite level pitching, and Chris Bassitt is putting it on display. Really have enjoyed watching him so far this year, and catching more of his starts will be a priority for me if he continues to throw like this. This is the maturation that we got to see growing up from some of the older heads in the Atlanta rotations, Flax. These guys were great stuff guys when we were growing up, and as they got a little bit older, we watched them go from stuff guys to just elite pitchers that you couldn't do much with.
Right. I think there's also a phenomenon that seems to happen where sometimes, not always, sometimes the harder you throw, the less your ball will move. And there are guys, Greg Maddux is a great example of this, that early in his career when he was throwing really hard, his ball did not move nearly as much as it did later in his career. And when he started to find that zone where he could throw it not nearly as hard and it really moved, he could then start truly pitching and being a scientist on the mound like he was. I think you're starting to see Chris Bassitt find that portion of his career where he doesn't need to. And again, I don't know that he was ever a guy that was going to shove it down your throat. Sure. But the fact that he can be a guy now that has so many different things in his arsenal to truly be a scientist, like the backdoor sweeper curveball mixture is disgusting. I mean, I know as a left-handed hitter, seeing a backdoor curveball or seeing a backdoor sweeper slider that comes back at you is already tough enough to swing at. But knowing it exists, and also possibly that ball could just never come back to you and you're going to swing over the top of something that's nowhere near the zone, it makes it extremely hard on a hitter. Like I said, it makes guys want to swing early. It makes guys want to not get to 2 strikes.
Sure.
So
Listen, but to further your point, and before we move on from Bassitt, when he came into the league, first full season 2016, his sinker, he was throwing it right around on average 93 miles an hour. That sinker is down closer to 91 this year. However, it has 2 to 5 more inches of arm side run. The level of confidence he has, if he misses down the middle from a starting point with the sinker, that it is still going to run to the edge of the plate, allows him to say, here it is, do something with it, buddy.
right.
Straight up. Because he knows as long as he's throwing it at the middle portion of the plate, it's running in on the hands. And we both know that is so difficult. Well, I'm sorry, you're a switch hitter. You don't know how difficult it is to have a sinker run in your hands. I, on the other hand, do. And let
I
me
know
tell
what it's
you
like to
something,
have a
Flax.
cutter running on your hands.
It ain't fun. Yeah, well, that's
He
not
does
fun
both.
either. He does do both. So he'd be running both of us down the alley.
I'm glad the numbers worked out. Now I sound like I know something about pitching.
All right, there's the good. Let's move on to what we're not going to call the bad, but the struggle, and a guy that we both know is highly likely to rebound regardless. Chris Sale, my biggest call of the year last year. I told a lot of people how good he was going to be for Atlanta in 2024. Off to a little bit slower of a start here in 2025. Flax, tell me a little bit about these struggles that you're seeing with Chris Sale, and you put a really good thread together on him recently, and I want to let you start this topic.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Chris Sale right now is he's not effective with the fastball. The pitch that we all know and love from Chris Sale is the slider. It's nasty. It moves an insane amount. But like anything else in baseball, if you cannot establish the hard stuff, guys get to understand and see the soft stuff and have more time to react to it, have more time to do something with it. There's other guys in the league that we can talk about that are in the same situation. But Chris Sale's fastball is not efficient right now. So one thing I noticed with him is that his arm angle dropped again. His arm angle dropped, I think, to 7 degrees. I think it was at 11 last year. It was at 15 2 years ago, 3 years ago. One of the things that we talk about with guys that throw from the side, and I talked about this in an earlier episode with a guy like Yennier Cano, because as the season goes on, his arm gets tired, his arm slot drops. It's really hard to stay on top and behind a fastball when you have a lower arm slot. Guys who can do it really well get an insane amount of movement and get a really good amount of ride from a really weird arm angle. The fact that he's dropped his arm angle down and he's not necessarily, the fact that he's not getting his arm angle down tells me he's probably getting under the ball a little bit, and we can tell that from his spin efficiency. His spin efficiency is probably about 5% off right now, 3 to 5%, something around there. When you throw a fastball 92 to 94 and your spin efficiency drops, your ability to get guys to swing at strikes, your ability to get guys to swing at balls, both become really, really difficult. Especially strikes and balls that are around those shadow zones on the edge of the plate. If you look back at what he did in 2024, the amount of strikeouts he had on fastballs, and that number has dropped substantially, but the amount of strikeouts that he had on fastballs that were in those shadow zones on swings, on late swings, is nowhere near what he has this year. Guy's ability to see it and move off of it or let it go, I think right now is purely because it's just not efficient, which means it's not getting on guys fast enough. It's not beating them before they realize it's happening. So that's what I'm seeing mostly from him. And part of that ends up being controlling the zone, right? Like walks go up when guys aren't swinging at that. You get forced to put pitches more over the plate, which means your hard hit percentage goes up. All these things coincide.
Look, I love everything that you've said, and I want to help back up a little bit of your he's quote unquote getting under the ball. Now listen, I am far, far, far away from Chris Sale. Don't worry, I know that, everybody. However, as a guy who does throw from the side and did in college, I do understand the feeling of not being able to stay enough on top of any of your pitches from that angle. And if you look even at his bread and butter pitch this year, which his slider, to be fair, has not been poor this year. Listen, guys are still hitting 196 against it, but you can see in his movement profile, his slider is not as depthy this year. We're talking about 2 to 3 inches maximum less depth to his slider. That does tell me he's probably a little bit under it, because what ends up happening from that arm angle is the ball just kind of spins on you and it floats. If your slider is not tight and you are not around it, it just floats on you and it becomes a very, very hittable pitch. Again, his has not become very hittable because guess what? He's Chris friggin' Sale. He throws one of the best sliders in all of baseball. However, his slider from a movement profile perspective is showing that it's taken a minor hit when it comes to this arm angle change and the ability to stay behind the baseball. Additionally, too, his fastball, it's got a little bit less vertical break compared to where it was last year. We are seeing things that are showing exactly what you're saying across all of his pitches. I do believe wholeheartedly that Sale is going to come out of this sooner than later, but a 4-degree arm angle change for everything you throw, especially from the side, is a huge, huge move. It really is. And again, I just know this because I felt it. And
it took a year gap. It took a year gap for his 15-degree to 11-degree arm slot change to turn into dominance.
Yes. Yep. It shows that.
And the other thing I want to talk about with him is from a hitter's perspective, because you have to think about how unique he is from a deception perspective against hitters, especially left-handed hitters. If you know that he doesn't have as good of a fastball and you're a left-handed hitter, what does he have to get you out? His slider. What do you not have to swing at because you know that you can wait for a fastball that's a little bit more over the plate?
His slider, because he's going to have to throw you a fastball over the plate at some point in time to get it up in the count, because you're not going to swing at the slider.
And guess who's been taking advantage of that? Left-handed hitters. Schwarber hit a 430-foot bomb off him, a mid-count fastball right over the plate. Because you want to get ahead of the guy. You don't want to walk him. But Schwarber's just not swinging at a slider. Like, if he sees the pitch come out with anything other than what he is probably trained and has now seen him enough times, because they're in the same division, he saw him a bunch last year, he knows in his mind some little indicator of fastball versus slider, Schwarber's just sitting on one pitch.
But listen, right now in small sample size, guys are hitting 536 off of the fastball, off Chris Sale. But it does tell you exactly what you said. And the truth be told, it's more than likely not just left-handed hitters at this point who are doing it. It's not, right? Alas, where do we go with this? It's Chris Sale. To be honest with you, he looks healthy. He doesn't look uncomfortable on the mound when he's out there. Braves country, I think you're just fine. Chris is going to figure it out. I don't know that there would be a full 1-year gap, but guess what? Even in that 1-year gap, he was fine. He wasn't awful. However, it's not off rip going to be 2024 Chris Sale. But by the time you need him late in this season, it's going to be hard for me to believe that Chris Sale is not much closer to 2024 than what he looks like right now. So I wouldn't stress too much. He is going to figure out how to let the ball go the right way. And I even think you're going to see a lot of his movement profiles get closer to last year than what we're seeing at the moment. So that's where I'm at on Chris Sale. Flax, I think that's about where you're at on Chris Sale. Very excited to see the rest of his season. Every game except against the Nats, I'd love him to look like this against the Nats, and I say that in a nice way. You know, we hit the fastball well in DC, so let's Chris, just give us one. Just give us one before you make us look like chop liver. Please and thank you. Moving on to the next fast start, slow start here. We're going to talk about rookies. And if we don't talk about that doesn't say Barry Bonds. That says Tyler Soderstrom. If we don't talk about Tyler Soderstrom, I think we might lose our jobs.
Tyler Soderbombs?
Oh, that guy. Yeah. The reincarnation of Barry Bonds?
It's amazing. It's so fun to watch his swing. This is truly like what he has changed himself into physically, like the physical changes he's made to his swing is just right in my wheelhouse of the way I would try and make every big league hitter, because there's something I know about I'm going to say 98% of big league players, because there are guys where this wouldn't work because it is hard to get this power. But I'm saying 98% of guys could do what he's doing, which is get your foot down early, use your quick hands, use your bat speed, and barrel the baseball. You will hit home runs if you do that. Nelson Cruz used to do it all the time. Not a big leg kick, not a big timing guy, just foot down early, rotate. It's so fascinating with Tyler Soderstrom, and I think it was Yonder Alonso on MLB Network did this whole breakdown of what's changed, or it wasn't Yonder Alonso. I lied. It was Mark DeRosa.
It was Mr. DeRosa.
It was Mark DeRosa and Mike Lowell.
It was, in fact.
Mike Lowell. Also, very good hitter. Also, very similar hitting style. That aside, one of the big things that they like to talk about started with the head, right? Head needs to stay still. Can't be moving towards the ball once that front foot gets down. The other thing they talked about was his stance. He closed it up a little bit. Why did he close it up? Because the move with his front foot, much shorter. It's not a big leg kick anymore. It's a pick-up, put-down move. The beauty of a pick-up, put-down move is you're not using it as timing off the pitcher. You're using it to get yourself ready. So what does the timing mechanism come in? It comes in with your load in your hands. What Soderstrom has done with his timing in his hands is actually quieted them down and gotten them to a place where he can just quickly go at the ball. So he's in a good hitting position where he can see the ball out of the hand. If it's away, if it's soft, he can still attack it. Hit a really good changeup from, I think it was Logan Gilbert, out the other way in Seattle, which is crazy. And then he turns around and you throw him fastball really tight in from Dolander at 99 in Colorado, and he parks it into the second deck in right field pull side. You have to be early to be able to do something like that both ways. You don't need a big leg kick. You don't need crazy power. You need quick bat speed. You need to barrel the ball, and you need to be ready to do it. So there's a lot of numbers but to go into that tell me that he's learning how to do those things and that those things are taking. But I do want to hear your thoughts first on the stance change and everything else that he's messed around with to get to this spot, because I know you find it so fascinating too.
I really enjoy watching players be willing to what I consider tinker with their overall mechanics to find what works, because in the short amount of experience that I've had, if you're not looking to get better on a regular basis, you don't have to make large changes, and during the season's not the time. Let's be very clear about this statement. However, off-season, all Soderstrom very obviously did was say, what could benefit me in 2025 and help me improve? And things as small as changing where his hands were and making it so it was a shorter move to get into his load position with his hands. Closing up the stance, but the only reason we did that was in order to make it so that the step itself was smaller. These things, and I know you went into depth, they show to me somebody who is going to be able to adjust to the league when the league adjusts to him. Let me give you the best possible example I have of this. If you get an opportunity, as our listener, go look at one Albert Pujols at bat for his entire career, starting at the beginning of his career to the end of his career. Albert Pujols was one of the most closed-off hitters that you've ever seen at the beginning of his career, and had to move his way through as people adjusted, pitched him different, as his body changed, as his mechanics changed. It is something that is very intriguing to watch. What Soderstrom proved to us as, I believe he's only 23-year-old hitter, is he has the ability to do this already. Because guess what, everybody? When your baseball savant page looks completely red, everybody at the MLB level looks at you and says, oh, no, Matumbo style. And they adjust to you. They figure out where you're not going to hit the ball well. And Soderstrom is proving that he has the aptitude to adjust to whatever that looks like. And for me, even as the stat guy, it is really, really hard to teach somebody to do this. I don't even know that it is teachable. throwing some numbers on it because there's no reason for me not to. He's hitting 350 off of the fastball this year. You want to be successful at the big league level, you have to be able to do that. It's also pretty darn impressive that he actually has the highest slugging percentage against breaking balls, because it tells me that he's staying on baseballs and can see it deep and drive the ball the other way with backspin on a regular basis. Exactly what Coach Mosiello told all of us last week. You're trying to hit line drives, and every once in a while you miss just this much and it goes over the fence. But those balls are created via backspin. I think Soderstrom is even more of a talent than we may have thought, and I'm very excited to see how he continues to adjust throughout this year, throughout next year, and throughout his entire career, because I think he's going to be around for a long time with this capability.
The big number that jumps out at me, being a left-handed hitter, knowing this game, and also seeing the progression of young hitters, is if they prove they can hit the fastball as a young left-handed hitter, the next pitch they need to prove they're not going to swing at is a changeup down.
Sure.
The changeup will destroy a career. It is one of the hardest pitches as a left-handed hitter against a good right-handed pitcher to touch, because you're not seeing spin, you're not seeing the ball pop out of a hand. It is a fastball that has downward away movement and starts on plane with a lot of these really good righties who throw fastballs on a downhill plane with a good bit of ride at the bottom of the zone. And we all love hitting that fastball at the bottom of the zone where you can just drop the barrel on it. Last year, Soderstrom's numbers in his Baseball Savant page were not bad. He wasn't a qualified hitter because he only had 213 plate appearances, but a good bit of it was red. He was hitting the ball hard. He was hitting the barrel. His exit velo was high. But what wasn't was his chase rate. His chase rate was bad, and his run values on changeups were really bad. This year, much better. His ability to make an adjustment on a pitch like a changeup and not have a negative run value, at least through a very similar amount of pitches being seen, tells me that he is forcing more pitches into the zone. He's been able to hit fastballs since last year. Of course. He has never been able to hit changeups.
He hit 315 on fastballs last year, guys. It's not like he wasn't able to hit them in 2020.
He has elite bat speed. It's not a problem for him. His pitch recognition and his choice to wait for the ball to be over the plate and available to him. I mean, he's not going after waste pitches. He's not going after pitches in the shadow. He is taking advantage of pitches over the heart of the plate, and his batting run value on them has flipped on its head from 2 years ago and even more so from last year. So that's the biggest thing for me, that like if you can see that adjustment over a 2-year period for a young left-handed hitter to start letting changeups go and force more fastballs into the zone, maybe even force more changeups into the zone, right? If you can bait a pitcher into saying, start your changeup a little higher, because then maybe I'll swing. Well, you start your changeup a little higher, it tends to just kind of hang out in that little higher zone. It's a meatball, right? He'll turn those around. He'll hit them the other way. It does not matter. It could be an elite changeup. It could be a bad changeup. Right now, he's seeing them really well, and you can tell with the way his batting profile is shaping up alongside the pitches he's seeing. So I think that's the most important thing for me. The chase rate is down, percentiles up. The whiff percentage with those other numbers, I don't really care about. It's not a bad thing to swing and miss at pitches. If you're swinging at pitches in the zone and you're whiffing, it tells me you're taking good hacks and good counts, especially if the rest of your results numbers are high.
Listen, before we move on, because I know it's super important to you, do you want to talk about that he's a negative OAA defender at first base? Shout out Pete Alonso, because nobody
his range
cares about
is
your
bad.
defense ever.
It's all right. He's not going to have to play first base anymore.
Nick Kurtz, baby.
Because Nick Kurtz is here.
Saw a tweet that said at least 5 announcers will get fired because of his last name, and that was funny, ladies and gentlemen. That was funny. Moving right along, in the words of my father, we got to go to somebody who is near and dear to my heart and has gotten a lot of he's been beat down.
A lot of worry from the fans to start the year.
And that would be the 2023 number 2 overall pick, Dylan Cruz. And I'm leading off this segment. You can't have this one, unfortunately. Cruz Cruz, it hasn't been great from a production perspective to start the year coming into Colorado, the Colorado series. 8 for 57 to start the year. The at-bats early in the season, they looked a little bit just uncomfortable, which is not like Dylan Cruz at all. He's a guy who, when he steps at the plate, has always looked like he commands the zone really well, and there's a high level of confidence. Luckily, we got to see him this weekend, and those fortunes changed a little bit, and we'll get into that. But his struggles really early in the season maybe weren't as much of a struggle as people would have thought. There is a level of unluckiness to it. And that's the fact that though the strikeouts were up early in the season for Cruz, he was one of those guys who was consistently hitting the ball hard, just directly at people on a regular basis. This is a tough conversation for me, Flax. And the reason why is because I know what Dylan Cruz is going to do. And explaining that to everybody before it happens sometimes is a little bit difficult. And the reason why I say that is because when you dig into the analytics, outside of some timing issues that are part of baseball and potentially confidence related, because where I'd like to start with Cruz is actually he hit 3 all spring training. Cruz hit around 270 in spring training, looked comfortable, looked good. He hit 3. Walk into game 1 of the season, and all of a sudden he's hitting 7. All of a sudden he's a bottom of the lineup guy
with the same guys in the lineup.
The year. Yep, the
same
exact
guys.
Same lineup that he was hitting 3 in and performing well all season.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to believe that there wasn't a level of confidence that got beat down as, hey man, I went and performed all spring training, and this was my reward for it.
You don't think Davey had a conversation with him?
I'm going to ignore that, because if I don't, I'll get in trouble. My point being is that Cruz has struggled coming into this against the fastball this year, if he struggled against any pitch. That is something throughout his entire career he has never had a problem handling. It really did feel like it was a confidence and timing thing early. However, again, he was still hitting the ball hard. He was in the 74th percentile in hard hit rate. The ball was coming off his bat right at people. I am not worried about Dylan Cruz in any way, shape, or form. And we got to see in Colorado for 3 games, the confidence of Dylan Cruz looked like it's back. Listen, the 2 home runs he hit the opposite way in game 1 of the Rockies series were absolute nukes. You knew off the bat they were gone. There was no question. He followed it up with a double as he started that first game, 3 for 5. And throughout the rest of the series, Cruz hammered baseballs. He got snagged off a double by Moniak in game 3. Game 2, he hit 3 to 4 balls that were over 90 miles an hour. You're about to see Dylan Cruz be Dylan Cruz, in my opinion. Flex, I don't know how you feel about it. This is a very emotional one for me because I love this guy.
I'll say this. I have no reason to believe that he's not a good enough player to figure it out.
Sure.
I think, fortunately for him, there are enough guys in that dugout, in that clubhouse, that can help him along outside of the coaching staff, the manager, the culture, what have you. There are enough guys to help him along. But I want to throw some numbers out there to you.
Do it.
1981. This guy got called up, a lot of fanfare around it. First 23 MLB games, hit 128. No extra base hits, 278 OPS, gets sent back down. 1982 comes along. Gets to May 1st, he's hitting 117. Do you know what that guy ended up doing? He went on to win Rookie of the Year in 1982, and then he went on to win AL MVP in 1983. That was Cal Ripken.
Love it.
A Hall of Famer.
Love it.
Dylan Cruz does not need to be a superstar day one. Nobody needs to be a superstar day one. This is a really hard game. The jump from the minor leagues to the major leagues is the hardest jump in sports. It is understandable that he will struggle a bit. But the fact that we saw from him this weekend, I don't care who he's facing. I get that it's the Rockies. The Rockies have not had a bad starting staff. They have had a bad bullpen, but he did just fine against an okay starting staff. But it has nothing to do with the pitching. These guys are all big leaguers. All of their fastballs are hard to hit. They throw hard. Don't sit here and tell me that his home runs were only home runs because it was in Colorado, because that's not the truth. He's a very good baseball player. He's a very good hitter. And you know what he's doing really well outside of not hitting great right now? Is he's still playing very good defense.
Yep. And when he gets on base, he's an elite base runner.
He's still playing the game the right way. If you're not going to help your team on one side of the ball, help your team on the other side of the ball. Davey's starting to move him up in the lineup. He's going to start seeing some different pitches. He's going to get protected by some different hitters. He's going to be the guy that they go after because he's right at the start of the train of where the lineup definitely falls off a hair. Yeah. And I think the beauty of that for him is he's going to see a ton of pitches in the zone. I think one of the other things that we don't talk about enough is young guys kind of get this welcome to the league, and the zone expands on them because umpires just stink. We've seen it over the last 3 or 4 years with tons of new age guys.
Julio was tough.
Julio got it bad. Adley got it bad. Holiday got it bad. I know Bobby Witt didn't have it great when he first got up, but Bobby Witt's ability to barrel balls up outside the zone is otherworldly. Yeah. So that's a whole different conversation. But again, I think a guy like Dylan Cruz could be in that conversation of get the ball in play and use your legs, right? Start there. Then they'll start turning into line drives. Then you'll start getting some confidence and the ball turns into a beach ball. He can throw you whatever he wants, in, out, up, down, and you're just going to start barreling everything. I think that's the trajectory he's on, especially as this team continues to be young and fun and make baseball a good time and get after it. I just think he's in a good place to have that situation. It's not like he's, trying to hide in a corner and trying to help a really good winning ball club, and he's the X factor that gets him over the hump. He's just not right now, and that's okay. It's the best place he could be to struggle through this and then get to the point where he's helping the team.
And to continue to put numbers to this, because I know my initial spiel was just me emotionally telling you that I think Dylan Cruz
is fine.
A ball player. I'm going to do that every once in a while. It turns out that I'm not only a numbers guy.
It's okay. I did that last night about Charlie Morton on our live. Like, we all have opportunities to be our emotional
Turns out I have a heart
self.
too, guys.
Sure,
I'm not ice cold when
not a robot.
I'm talking and I'm straight faced. But listen, hitting 186 right now against his average, his expected batting average is 287. Okay? His WOBA hitting 186 is 347, which is a 65 percentile in the league. I did misspeak. His hard hit rate is down. What is at that 80 percentile is the barrel percentage, which takes into consideration not only how hard the ball is hit, but the launch angle of the baseball. So it does tell me when he's barreling the ball, it is at an angle that will create good results. That's it. I can't say any more about it. The one final thing I will leave you guys with on Dylan Cruz is first game, nice day. He comes out for fly balls after we got snowed out, gets to see the outfield. He's walking out to the outfield. I'm in the upper deck, and I, as a fan, said something to him, and he looked up, smiled, and waved. But why I'm telling you this is more so he did not look tense. He looked loose, and he looked ready to go, and for
the kid's
anybody
still
who
having
doesn't
fun
realize
playing
it,
baseball.
that's so important for a guy who was the number 2 overall pick, and for many who don't know his history, was considered the best player at every level he played at. There has been expectations on this guy from day one. So yeah, this is one of the first times probably his entire career in baseball that he has failed a little bit. He's going to get past it. He looked really comfortable and loose in Colorado. Nats fans get excited.
Not the first one, not the last one.
We'll have this discussion about somebody else great soon. It's just how it works. I totally agree. Let's get on to our relievers here because we are running through this. And Flax, why don't we talk about your second favorite reliever behind Felix Bautista right now?
I appreciate you saying that.
Of course, second favorite. It couldn't be your first.
Listen, man, some guys are struggling. Some are saying this is the next great closer. I think he got his 9th on the year yesterday. Robert Suarez is a problem. I mean, he's got averaging 18 inches of IVB on a sinker and a fastball on the same plane with an extension of 7 feet. I don't know how you hit that. I mean, Cam Smith got robbed of a hit yesterday. there was a part of me that was like, yeah, you got robbed of a hit, but like you also were so late on a fastball that you almost whipped one down the right field line.
Yeah.
Right? Like you didn't pound it in the gap and have somebody lay out and take it away from you. You basically hit a line drive at the first baseman, and he was a step to his left. That aside, Robert Suarez is gross. There's an insane amount that we could talk about with him. The biggest thing for me, as much as I love the fastball, as much as I love the sinker, his changeup is such an improved pitch year over year, and he's throwing it so much right now, which really goes well with the low fastball that he gets to throw with his really high IVB. This is my favorite tunnel combination in baseball. If you can throw, and it's crazy because there's guys like Tyler Glass now that do it with a curveball, which is the craziest thing I've ever seen. But when guys do it with a changeup, it's so good looking. When you can throw a fastball where you can dot it at the bottom of the zone at a guy's knees, where it looks like it just floats in the air, and then you throw a changeup that does the same thing and then just falls off a table, even if guys want to hit it, they can't hit it hard. Even if they hit it hard, they're pounding it into the ground. And they're also pounding the fastball into the ground because they're trying to go down and make sure they're not getting beat on a changeup. Even the other night, he closed out a game against the Cubs. Dansby Swanson hit a hard ground ball to shortstop. It's the most routine ground ball that Xander Bogaerts is going to get all season long. It is so good that he's able to get in the zone, get hit, and still be successful. I'm not a big fan of relievers who throw splitters and sinkers as their main out pitch late in the game when you get to October. They're really hard pitches to throw in the cold. If you can become a fastball changeup guy, work fastball up in the zone to change the eye level, work the fastball changeup combo down, I don't see him having a lot of failure late in the season.
So I'm going to tell you why it's not going to end up mattering in the cold. And here's exactly why. Robert Suarez's fastball averages 98.5 miles an hour. His sinker averages 98.2 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's the same pitch. It
Correct.
Just moves a little.
It is the same pitch, but it moves 3 to 5 inches more arm side to a righty, away from a lefty. We just talked about Chris Bassitt's ability to keep you from ever knowing what pitch he is throwing. Can you imagine a guy who throws a pitch the exact same velocity, but one of them with a spin that you're not going to be able to tell the difference on runs 5 more inches into your hands? In the cold? Good luck. He might be more effective in October. And that's saying something. Because you're absolutely right. Most sinker guys do not hold effectiveness. His arsenal might truly be made for the cold weather. And he gets to pitch in warm weather all year until it happens.
Well, the other thing I like about his combo and the fact, and this was the big reason I was like, oh, I love that he's throwing the changeup more, is I don't love sinkers to lefties. I don't think it's an effective pitch. As a left-handed hitter, if you throw me a sinker and I think I'm going after a fastball, anything middle away, you're just making it easier for me to hit the barrel. Unless your ball like his moves a ton, I'm more than likely going to pound it into the ground the other way. But if it's any bit up in the zone, it's so much easier for me to get the ball on the barrel on the outer half. Now, if you can throw me that Maddox 2-seam off the front hip, if you can throw that sinker on the inner half and get it to dot on the inner half, you're going to make a lot of lefties very scared in the box. I don't know that I've seen him do it a ton yet, but it's certainly something that would be worthwhile. It just may not be necessary. The changeup is a pitch that just has enough depth and works off of something that you can probably get a lot of guys staring at low and away and get a lot of outs and then a lot of soft contact. So I love that he's mixing that in because now I feel much more confident on different righty-lefty combos no matter what.
I agree. We're gonna lightning round through the relievers here. Robert Suarez is going to be one to watch. If you weren't already familiar with the name, you probably should be. So
they're only in the game for a short period of time, so we're just going to follow suit and only talk about him for a short period of time.
He came in, he closed the game, and now we're moving on to the next guy who has struggled to close.
We'll talk about him a little longer because he's not closing games as well.
Yeah, and that's the airbender himself, Devin Williams. Flax and I have some interesting points of why Devin Williams is where he is, and look, I want to start this one because I made you start the last couple. I don't want to go in and get too crazy on this, but I think we both agree in some way, shape, or form it's pitch mix for Devin Williams right now. He's now throwing the changeup. Flax, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's 52% of the time this year. He has basically, he has flipped his fastball and his changeup usage. Last year it was 53% four-seam fastball, 45% changeup. This year it's the opposite. I think it's 52-46, something in that range. Here's my thing. The Yankees really, really want to do Tommy Canley, but airbender version. And here's the problem. Your pitch mix doesn't do that right now. That's my issue. If you want him to be the airbender version of Tommy Canley, you got to be willing to throw the changeup more than 53% of the time.
It's got to be 70-30. Like, it has to be 70-30.
Because here's what's going to happen. 52 to 46. I'm guaranteed a fastball. Why am I going to swing at the airbender? There's no point in swinging at it. Because guess what? He's also definitely not going to throw it for a strike the entire time because it's been a put-away pitch his entire career. This is a purely pitch mix issue for me. Almost as mixed up as that statement was. But listen, if you want him to be Tommy Canley airbender, then make him throw the freaking changeup more. You got to keep guys off balance, and 52-46 isn't off balance. Come on.
Well, so I'll take you through an example, right? Because he pitched against the Tigers, and they ended up winning the game, but it was 4-1 game going into the ninth. He comes out, and Mark Leiter Jr. had to end up closing it out because he couldn't get 3 outs. Well, so he started the inning with a walk to Torkelson. It was a 9-pitch at bat. The mix wasn't great. Started him with changeups. Again, he's throwing them early in the count. He's always thrown them early in the count.
Huh.
But now, instead of going back to them late in the count and getting some sneaky fastballs, he's using the fastball late in the count. The last 4 pitches went changeup, fastball, fastball, changeup. So it got to a point where Torkelson was basically sitting on a fastball, and when he threw him a changeup down, he was just like, not a strike. So he walks. Strikes out the next 2 guys. Again, late in the count, fastballs. Now, I believe it was Colt Keith and Zach McKinstry, maybe. Yeah. Not good at bats from either one of them. They took fastballs in the zone, late in the count, didn't swing. Sorry, McKinstry wasn't McKinstry, it was somebody else. Next at bat, 2 outs, man on first. Javi Baez, who, again, he's playing better. I don't know the man's ever really had an approach up to the plate other than dead red, swing hard. So you get behind him, 2-0 on changeups because Javi's not swinging at it because it's down and in, and Javi doesn't swing down and in. Javi swings down and away or at changeups. So then what do you do 2-0? You lay him a fastball over the middle of the plate. Javi singles, it's first and third. Then Sweeney walks. Again, fastball's late in the count. He worked it all the way to that point, takes his base. Then who comes up? Zach McKinstry, who was not one of the people who struck out earlier. Zach McKinstry goes through his at-bat, gets to a 2-1 count because he didn't want to swing at changeups early in the count. What does he hit? An inner-half fastball, hits it for a single, 2 runs scored, it's 4-3. Devin Williams is out of the game. He threw more fastballs than he threw changeups in that outing. Great. He threw all of his fastballs in the back half of his counts. If you're telling me that his pitch mix is almost 50-50, I'm just going to wait for a fastball. He's not throwing the changeup enough for the changeup to be the pitch. He's not throwing it enough for a strike, too, right? Like, you have to be willing to somewhat put it in harm's way if that is going to be the pitch you throw more often, right? Listen, the numbers back everything up that's currently happening. Hitters hit 111 and 162 consecutively on his fastball and his changeup last year. Hitters are hitting 417 against his fastball and 286 against his changeup this year. On the flip side, his fastball has become the put-away pitch. It's at 17.4% against 12.9% this year. Last year, the changeup was 31.9% the put-away, the fastball 26.2%. Again, if you want, because it's just what it looks like to me, if you want to Tommy Canley airbender, he has to be willing to throw it for a strike more often and put it in harm's way
because otherwise everybody's going to do exactly what you just explained. They're going to say, that's a sick pitch that I'm never swinging at.
Right. And it's one of those things where if you start to see a guy enough, and let me tell you guys, there's enough training models out there for these guys to get to see different spin without actually having to face the pitcher, and you can mimic his rotations and the way he throws it as much as you want. These guys can start to read the difference and just make decisions, especially if they're looking for a type of spin.
Yep.
If they, in their mind, have an idea that they are looking for fastball spin, anything that's not that, they're just not swinging unless they get to 2 strikes. And even then, they're getting more fastballs.
Everybody in the league tried to wait on a Tommy Canley fastball last year, and it didn't work.
They never came.
That's the point. And I'm not saying Williams needs to throw 84 changeups in a row, but if it's going to be the pitch that you throw the most often, you have to be willing to throw it for a strike, and you're going to have to understand that people are going to look for the straight one. It's how it works, guys. People want to hit the fastball. And if they know they're going to get one in a count and you're not going to throw your other pitches for a strike, they're just going to sit there. Right? When your buddy throws nothing but sweepers off the plate in MLB The Show, you just stop swinging and wait for him to throw a fastball. Like, I'm not trying to oversimplify this, but I want to put it in a relatable way for everybody to think about. Right? So, either way, let's wrap up the Devin Williams piece. I think he's going to be just fine. I think that they're going to figure out this pitch mix piece with him. His stuff is still unbelievable. Guys, he gets over 2,700 RPMs on a friggin' changeup, for gosh sakes.
It's crazy.
It drops off a table. It is one of the best pitches in baseball, but the Yankees are asking him to do something a little bit different. And as energized as that conversation was, Devin Williams is elite, and he is going to figure it out, and he is going to come back better for it. What I would remind you of is we watched Josh Hader have some struggles when his new team asked him to do some things different in Houston. Williams is going to figure this out. It's more than likely not going to be an issue, but let's see what he does with the changeup. Let's see where the mix takes us to finalize this for everybody, because I was incorrect, and we do not have Jackson to make fun of us for getting things wrong today. The kid is working his butt off for ETSU. He has used the changeup 57% of the time this year against a 43% fastball usage. I'm very intrigued to see from this point on how that changes.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's we're gonna speed run through this last part because I do think it's really important for us to get through. We're gonna go ahead and cut out our final thoughts here, but we do want to get to the last piece with a lot of the cohort that we've been around throughout the different social medias happens to be part of that Braves country. We didn't mean to make this such a Braves podcast, but here we are today. Drake Baldwin has been like the unluckiest hitter in baseball. Home run has an expected batting average of 150, the first one he actually gets, but he's hitting balls 100 miles an hour left and right that are just getting caught on a regular basis. Gosh, welcome to the big leagues. That's
seriously
tough, Flax. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean it's not what you want as a fan, but I guarantee you there's no part of him that's upset with the way that he is hitting the baseball. No. I'm sure there's no part of him that's upset with his at-bats. He's very clearly doing things that are going to be future success, right? We've talked about this. You brought it up earlier. Barrel percentage means so much to me. It means a ton to me because it's like we talked about with Coach Mo. When you're hitting and when you see a guy in a cage, if a guy's just hitting line drives off the back of the cage, well, I don't need to tell you to do anything. Just keep doing that. Like, do that all day long on the field. Barrel percentage means you're hitting the ball over 95 miles an hour, and then I believe anywhere between 17 and 25 degrees of launch. I'm sure I'm off on that. It's a little bit less
than 25, but you're close.
So it's around that area. That tells me you're basically hitting line drives off the back of the cage. Like, that's what that number is, and you're hitting hard line drives off the back of the cage. His barrel percentage is high. So he's doing what I like to call the touch and feel stats really well. They will turn into results. He's hitting the ball hard. He's swinging at the right pitches. They're just going to start finding holes. He's hit more balls that had higher expected batting averages and could have potentially gone out in other parks than the 2 home runs he's hit.
Yeah.
So
let's keep not only the Braves fans excited about what Drake Baldwin's going to be, but let's bring in a Yankee here who I was very high on coming into the season, was very excited to see what he was going to do, and that's Ben Rice. And why are we bringing up Ben Rice? Ben Rice went through this in 2024. Ben Rice had an XWOBA in 2024 over around 170, I think 78 plate appearances of 342. However, he hit 171 and his on-base percentage was 264. Barrel percentage was high for the time period. Unlucky. I don't really know. Again, I don't know how else to put this, right? Sometimes in baseball, you hit the ball hard consistently right at people, and there's not anything you can do about it because that's how the game works. Ben Rice this year has maybe the most, outside of Pete Alonso and Fernando Tatis, maybe the most read Baseball Savant page. Statistically, he's been unreal, even if you only like production metrics.
Nobody else hits the ball harder than him.
No, I mean, hitting 292 with an expected batting average of 337 and an XWOBA of 477. I mean, we're putting him in the territory last year of the Sotos and the Judges with that swing. And by the way, left-handed hitter or not, in a small Yankee stadium, none of his shots are cheapos. The dude hits double-deckers on a regular basis. His X-slug is 698 this year. This is just gross. Why am I bringing this up? Because I think Drake Baldwin, listen, the extent might not be exactly the same, but Drake Baldwin is in that 2024 Ben Rice spot right now. He's in this little siloed area, and the ball is going to start hitting green, and everybody in the league is going to start to remember how good not only of a prospect he was, but how bright of a future a guy like Drake Baldwin has.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the other thing when you look at Ben Rice, and not even his expected stats, but you look at some of the intangibles there as well, he's walking a ton.
Yeah.
When you look at the chase rate, it's way down, right? Those are the types of things that I look at with both of these guys, that they just take good at bats. You're starting to see it more and more from younger guys that are coming up. And we're seeing guys like Jacob Wilson, who's like at an unreal level with that. But guys really have an appreciation and an understanding of the strike zone, and understand that the higher the level you go, the better the umpires get. As much as we gripe about the umpires at the big league level, umpires in AAA are worse. They just are. These guys able to work through that and then even have a better understanding for what it is at the big league level, start seeing better pitches and still have enough of an approach not to chase. Ben Rice is the 94th percentile this year in chase percentage. He is 79th percentile for walk percentage. He's taking really good at-bats. We're seeing the same thing from Drake Baldwin right now. He's waiting until he gets good pitches to hit. He's taking good swings at him, and he's moving the ball out there pretty damn hard.
Yeah.
Can't really ask much more of a hitter.
Nope. No, both of those guys, very pure swinging lefties that we're going to see in this league for a very long time. Excited to see it. Ironically, both catchers at the minor league level. I think Baldwin probably sticks. I think it doesn't make sense for Rice to stick. That's a whole other conversation. But very excited to see what both of these young players do throughout the year. That's what we got for you guys today. A little bit longer of an episode. We were having fun digging into these players. We hope you guys enjoyed digging in as well. Like I said, our boy, the stat guy himself, Jackson Scudder, out this week. ETSU is in the middle of a absolute run as they move towards the college baseball regionals. So
if any of you want to take his place this week, leave comments on Spotify, because I know you can. Let me know where I was wrong. I love it. I got to learn. Listen, man, it's a game of failure, and the podcasting game is also a game of failure, for me at least.
We try to do better than 3 out of 10. And if we're not, you should really probably say something. We need to be hitting probably closer to 800 than we need to be hitting 300, but we'll worry about that later. Past that, we appreciate everybody coming as always. We've got some more stuff in the pipeline for you. Make sure you come back, follow, like, subscribe, all the fun things that Flax likes to say.
Join us Sunday for the live show.
We do have a live show on Sundays now. It's supposed to be at half an hour, but Flax lied to me and it was an hour this week. So we're here. We're accessible. Find us on Twitter. We appreciate you guys. Have a great week.